What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Apollo Justice. We are in the middle of talking to Lamiroir. We just perceived something and she was obviously lying about. So we're gonna find out what the heck she's been trying to hide from us. She looks kind of pale. She saw something. I know it. Even the victim said so. Am I have to read that whole line again? Okay, I saw the bullet holes in the wall and knew Mr. Latouche had been shot. From here, we're going to present the diagram. My 3DS is getting stuck. Lamiroir, they call you the siren of the ballad, but lies are hardly becoming of such a creature. Put down worthy of our prosecutor, Mr. Justice. Such put-downs are hardly becoming of you, Apollo. Stop polishing your forehead and start polishing your character, yeah? Come on, can't I be cool for once? Observe the diagram. Lamiroir, you looked in from the door for just a moment, correct?
Yes, that is so.
There were bullet holes in the room, yes? But they were in the wall. The door is on. You see, assuming you merely glanced into the room, you couldn't have seen those bullet holes.
Yuck!
Lamiroir!
Yes?
I'm afraid the defense has raised a good point. It appears you have been holding back something.
And I must tell you what it is that I saw?
Yes. The happenings in this trial are being recorded, and I'm certain it will be on the news in Virginia. You understand your reputation is at stake. It falls to you to avoid tarnishing it. Personally speaking, I still believe that cross-examining her will yield us absolutely nothing. But she knew how Mr. Latouche died, and he named her a witness. You must have seen something, Lamiroir. Very well. Lamiroir, please continue your testimony.
Very well, I shall.
What I saw, number 2.
I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. There were 2 shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But it wasn't Machi. It was a grown person. I know it was.
So you did witness the crime, and the killer was a grown person, you say? This is my first time hearing this, I assure you. Nice play, Herr Forehead. Very well, Mr. Justice, you may begin your cross-examination. Great going, Apollo. You are right about Lamiroir. What's wrong? You don't look too happy. This whole thing smells fishy. That's what's wrong. Pressing on everything except for one statement. So you were heading toward the dressing room?
Yes.
So this is a little before she opened the dressing room door and dropped her brooch. About the same time Emma and I heard those shots.
I was on my way back.
What exactly is something like a little window?
Yes, well... window is the best word I know in English. I think this is how it is said, yes.
You need not worry, Lamiroir. Your choice of words is impeccable. There is a small window in the dressing room in question. Perhaps the defense remembers this detail. The little window on the wall.
I, saw the crime from there.
I didn't even know there was a window over there. You are certain you heard 2 shots fired.
Yes, quite certain. I was on my way to the backstage exit. This was when I heard a faint sound, like a gunshot. Wondering what it had been, I peered through the window. That is when I heard the second gunshot, much closer.
And there were 2 bullet holes at the scene. No contradictions so far.
It all happened on the other side of that window. There was nothing I could do.
It wasn't Maki who shot. Are you sure?
Yes, quite certain.
It amuses me that you would question her testimony. It is testimony in your favor. Isn't it your job to object? Yeah, Apollo, what were you thinking? Trucy, let's just listen to what Lamar has to say. Can you tell me how you were so sure?
Yes, of course. You see...
Alright, we're gonna... No, actually, this is the last statement, so I guess we are pressing it. A grown person. That's a little vague.
I am sorry. My skill with your language is lacking, I know.
Certainly, you could at least see whether the shooter was a male or female.
It was a man. A young man.
And you're sure of that?
Yes, his voice was quite clear.
Voice? Looking at this diagram, it seems the dressing room was quite cluttered. It does seem likely that you wouldn't have had a clear view of the shooter.
As a singer, I rely more on my ears than my eyes. When I hear a voice, I do not forget it. That voice was the voice of a man.
So you heard a voice. But wait. Couldn't that have been the victim, Mr. Latouche?
Absolutely not. Did I not just say that I do not forget a voice? If it was Mr. Latouche who spoke, I would have known.
Indeed. So you were at the window and you heard the shooter's voice. The voice of a young man. Apollo, this is a good testimony. That proves it wasn't Maki. Indeed. If this turns out to be true, it would cast this case in a considerably different light. What is the defense's opinion on this testimony? It's pretty good? Well, I'd have to say it's pretty good. Vital, even. This shows that the shooter wasn't Maki. Ha! Surely you can't be serious, Hair Forehead? Why not? Lamar, I understand why you would want to protect Mahi. Yet remember, you are the siren of the ballad, and lies do not become such a creature. What does the prosecution mean? Apollo, what's he talking about? How come no one bats an eye when he says stuff like that? I recall the state of the crime scene quite well. The state of the room? Yes, and when the murder took place. That window was closed. I find it hard to believe you could hear a voice through it.
What? But I'm sure.
Lamar, I have nothing but the highest regard for your musical sense, but my opinion of you as a witness is somewhat lesser. But she's the only eyewitness we have! So you say, and the victim named her the Siren as the witness. That's right, that's what Mr. Latouche... We heard your claim, we even entertained the possibility, and it brought us to this. Herr Judge. Yes? The prosecution requests that the witness be excused. Please. I'm afraid I must honor the prosecution's request. There is indeed a question of the witness's credibility. But if Lamar can't testify, then we don't have a chance of proving Mahi's innocence. This cross-examination is over. Prosecutor Gavin, you may continue making your case. Thank you. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, I would like to hear from Fraulein Detective again. Wait, let me hear Lamar's testimony one last time.
But the cross-examination is already over, until such a time as a need arises. This witness may leave the stand.
I'm sorry I could not be of more assistance.
Well, shit. At last, back to the real trial. Ready, Herr Forehead? I hope I didn't just miss my only chance. Fraulein Detective, how far have we gotten until we were so rudely interrupted? Don't ask me! I dislike saying the same thing twice. I never repeat a song for an encore.
If you would, Miss Guy.
Huh. I believe I was saying that the only way Mr. Latouse's killer could have escaped was through that air vent on the ceiling.
Oh yes, there was only one door in the room, and a witness, you, was standing in front of it.
That air vent isn't very big, see? Kind of limits the people who could possibly get through.
I certainly would have a difficult time.
You sure would. Not that you would have been there in the first place, though. Remember, the whole backstage area was off limits to people not involved with the concert. The only one who meets the conditions for our killer is the defendant. A virtuoso performance. I couldn't have put it better myself.
She does state a clear case. Though reading the report, something caught my eye.
Oh, what's that?
The circumstances of the defendant's arrest.
The circumstances? Again? Hey, that's right, Apollo. Remember when we found Mahi? That was bizarre. She's right. Why did Mr. Latouse's body disappear from the room and end up on top of that stage tower? Holding a guitar, no less. A perceptive observation, Herr Judge.
Oh, thanks. It was kind of an accident, really. But you work in this job long enough. You'll get a nose for things.
The judge sure seems pleased with himself. Very good, Fraulein Detective. Perhaps you can tie it all together for us. Why was the body moved? And how does that lead us to the killer?
The missing body.
I believe Mahit stole the body because of some lyrics. He moved the body to match Lamar's song. No one in this country had a motive to kill the victim. I can't imagine Mahi also moving a large guy like him. And Machi practically left his signature at the scene. All this evidence clearly points to the defendant. Lamar's song? Yes, the Guitar Serenade. You noticed its code too, did you not? Its code? All the events that day follow the lyrics to our song. First, the keys my heart held on to so tightly was stolen. Then Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flames on stage. Mr. Latouse's life was taken by a bullet. The rest hardly needs explanation. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky.
That's mad! It's like a story out of some fairy tale.
Rubble, 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 rubble. I admit I'd forgotten about the song, but there it is now, waiting for me. The grand finale, as it were. Hey, you know I was the one who first noticed that.
I've heard of jumping rope to songs and counting to songs, but killing?
It's a wild world out there, Herr Judge.
Very well. We've heard one song and dance. Let's get on to the next. The cross-examination.
I'm not so sure I'm going to be doing much singing.
Pressing on everything except for the statement right before the last one.
Who would steal a body just to match some lyrics? I didn't believe it myself, but it can't just be a coincidence. It is as Fraulein Detective says. Let us begin with the first, if you would, Fraulein Detective. What? You want me to sing it? You are the witness, ja? Or did you want me to sing it? I warn you, my fee as vocalist is not trivial. Fine. Let's look at the first part of the lyrics, shall we? When you stole away the keys my heart held on to so tight. Indeed, my favorite heart-shaped key ring was stolen that morning. Next we go to the right page of the lyric sheet, where we find, burning on in my heart, fire, burning my love away, all away. As we know, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame. Like a bullet of love, fire, take my life away, all away. Mr. Latus's life was taken by a bullet. Bravo, Fraulein Detective. You're singing. It's not bad. Now for the finale. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky. As it says in the lyrics, Mr. Latus was found with a guitar high in the sky over the stage. No series of coincidences could be so well conceived. He's right, scientifically speaking. What would Waki have said? That concert was whack? It's hard to argue when she pours her heart into it like that. Anyway, the shooter. Nice job, Emma. Does the prosecution have any idea why he'd do all this? You want my scientific opinion? No clue. But he clearly had a reason to go through all that trouble. Some deep reason. A deep reason? Not only did he steal my keys, he torched my guitar. Unforgivable acts even if he had a reason. And worse if he had none. The diva's complaints aside, I can't imagine someone doing this on just a whim. Fraulein Detective, I take offense at that description.
Indeed, it does seem too well rehearsed, shall we say.
Yep, this crime was planned for sure. But Mr. Latus spoke English. He may have come to this country before. I looked into that, I assure you. Oh. It was his first time in the country, it seems. Apparently, he learned English on his own. Great. You see, no one here had a motive to kill him, and certainly not in such an elaborate fashion.
It does seem difficult to imagine.
Unless our famous prosecutor did it as a publicity stunt. What did you say?
Prosecutor Gavin, you did this to promote your song?
Gavin? Of course not, and I'm quite dismayed by the ludicrous nature of a claim. Why would I need promotion? Everyone already listens to my music. They're even in my textbook at school. And I never heard of them. What does that say about me? I was just kidding. Don't get all worked up, Glimmer Boy. Damn, that sass. Alright, we're skipping over that. But you can't say that for sure. Please, none of those non-scientific objections. They're bad for my complexion. What's so scientific about a murder of two lyrics? Lyrics can be explained scientifically. Never underestimate the power of science. Put that bottle of fingerprinting powder down before you hurt someone. Like me. Okay, then explain it. Scientifically. I require more data. Like all science. Ha! Likely story. This doesn't look so good, does it, Apollo? No, it doesn't. What do we do? First, we don't panic. Even though Machi's case is leaking water by the gallon, Gavin's on a roll, and it's up to me to stop him. Alright, now we're gonna press that one statement I skipped over. What do you mean by his signature? The bullet holes in the wall, of course. The bullet holes? The revolver was fired twice. One shot missed and left a hole in the wall.
And that means what exactly?
That dressing room isn't exactly spacious. Picture the shooter facing off with the victim in there. They can't have been more than 5 feet apart. It would be difficult, almost impossible to miss at that range.
Difficult to miss, you say?
Very. Assuming the shooter could properly aim. No, you can't be serious. Mai, he can't see. That's why he missed? It's the only explanation that it makes sense. He used sound and other senses to fire the gun. Poorly. That reminds me, the monitor in that room was blaring at the time, ja? Hardly ideal conditions for tracking by sound.
A blind shooter. No wonder he missed.
I knew those bullet holes would come back to haunt me. Think, Justice, what do I do now?
Let's raise an objection.
Sure, there were bullet holes left in the wall. But that doesn't prove that the shooter couldn't see.
Oh, how so?
Well, there could have been a struggle with the victim.
That's certainly possible.
And it might have been the revolver's fault.
The revolver?
The revolver was a very large caliber, correct?
If the shooter wasn't used to firing such a large weapon, why, it could dislocate their shoulder.
Exactly. The defendant, Machi Tabaye, is, as you can see, tiny. It's not so hard to picture him firing the gun and missing entirely. The kickback alone would throw off his aim.
Scientifically speaking, a convincing argument, to be sure.
Ha! Take that, smug prosecution! Apollo?
Huh? What?
That bit about Mahi being tiny, and the gun throwing off his aim, are you kind of, admitting that he did it?
Oh. It does not matter why he missed. What matters is that the shooter was, without a doubt, the defendant. Even the defense seems to agree on that point.
Cripes, I really put my foot in it this time.
But let's get the facts of the matter on the record. If you would, Fraulein Detective. Very well, the witness will add this to her testimony.
Right. From the state of the crime scene, I conclude the shooter was blind. You can't say he was blind just because of those bullet holes in the wall. I think I've proven that.
I wouldn't call it proof, per se.
Huh?
You've merely raised a possibility. Fraulein Detective has made a most logical conjecture based upon the evidence. Of course, there's more evidence than just bullet holes. The defendant was the only one who could have escaped through the air vent.
But wait, if he was blind, how would he know about the air vent in the first place?
Ah, a very good point. Well, Fraulein Detective, if you would care to explain?
He certainly seems sure of himself. Recall the crime scene, if you would. There was a stepladder below the air vent. As it happens, maintenance was scheduled for that day. Custodial staff went around checking all the air vents. I don't believe it. Everyone backstage was told about the maintenance, including Mahi Tabai. He would have known that there would be a way out at the top of that stepladder. But why is this the first time I'm hearing about this?
You could have figured it out yourself. You only needed to consider what the stepladder was doing there. Looks like the defense's objection has been squished by a stepladder. Well, Herr Forehead, out of ammunition, perhaps?
I've never seen Prosecutor Gavin so aggressive. Maybe he's caught the scent of blood. Apollo, don't you have something? Anything? You know what we need? We need something to prove the killer could see. That'll put him in his place. Proving the shooter was sighted would do it. That would take time. That would take down one of their central points. Do I have any evidence that can prove that, though?
Well, if we don't, we're in trouble, so I've got just the thing.
Fine, I accept the prosecution's challenge.
As I knew you would, Herr Forehead.
What exactly am I up against here? The prosecution is saying the shooter missed because he or she couldn't see. Therefore, Mahi, who's blind, did it.
The bench will please present their evidence. Evidence that overturns the prosecution's claim that the shooter couldn't see.
Well, let's look at the crime scene photo again. This is the evidence.
The photograph of the crime scene.
I don't care much for the smirk on Prosecutor Gavin's face, but this is no time to think twice. Time to press on. Yes, Your Honor, the crime scene. There is something in here that decisively contradicts the prosecution's point.
Then perhaps you best show us this something. Get your fingers out of the breeze and put it to good use, ja?
Very well, show us what you're talking about, Mr. Justice. That was a weird skip on my game. The contradiction at the scene of the crime is... Well, let's look at this smeared writing up here. Who did that?
The contradiction is right here. The smeared bloodstains?
Oh, I thought it was just by blurry vision. But it really was blurry. The way the victim's hand is raised above his head. Much like a gesture I have seen many times in this court.
It's almost as if he wrote something. Aha, I get it. At least, I think I get it.
Gets what, Fräulein?
When Mr. Latus was shot, he tried to write something. And what would he write but the shooter's name? And what would he write in it? And what would he write in it but his own blood? Pretty good, huh?
Thanks for making my point for me.
Yes, in fact, that's what I think happened here.
That does seem to be a distinct possibility.
The victim wrote the killer's name.
It's certainly a logical conclusion.
Drat, I just wish it wasn't all rubbed out like that.
Of course it's rubbed out. Why, if I were the killer, I certainly wouldn't want to leave my own name behind.
Neither would I. No one has anything else to say?
About what?
So the prosecution accepts this. You agreed this was the victim making an attempt to record the name of the killer, and that the killer tried to rub the name out. What's your point? What's my point? Let me ask you this. How did the killer know the victim was writing their name? Well, Mr. Latus was writing something in blood. Once the killer saw what it was...
Wait. Once he saw what it was?
But what did you just testify about the shooter?
I said...
They were blind. Oh! Yet the crime scene itself contradicts that. The killer had to have been able to see. Why would they rub out the name in blood otherwise?
Oh.
May I remind the court that the defendant, Machi Tabai, is blind. He couldn't have been the shooter.
Impossible!
Take that.
Order! 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 Well, Prosecutor Gavin, please explain to me what all this means. I mean, looking at this photo, it seems quite clear that the shooter could see. Yet up until now.
It seems I owe the court an apology.
The Gaviniers are a band with law enforcement ties, yet a murder occurred during our concert. Apparently this caused some confusion over jurisdiction. As a result, some reports were not filed in an entirely timely manner.
I'm not sure I like the vibe I'm getting here.
Hey, Apollo, look at him. Why is Prosecutor Gavin all relaxed and smiling like that? Like he knows something we don't, and he's about to tell us.
I've got an idea. Let's rock with these documents. But before that, I have a question for the Fräulein detective, if I may.
What?
Tell me, why do you think that Machi Tabai is blind?
Huh?
What did he say?
What are you saying?
Of course he's blind.
Of course?
He's a blind pianist, right? So he's...
Doesn't Lamiroir lead him around by the hand all the time?
No way.
I have a report here on the defendant Machi Tabai. According to this, Machi Tabai can see perfectly well.
What?
Wait, does that mean Lamiroir is... His blindness was merely a publicity ploy by those clever Borginians. He can see quite well.
But you said...
What did I say exactly? Herr Forehead, not once in the course of this trial have I claimed the defendant was blind. The only one who did was Fräulein detective.
But that's...
Oh, you sneaky bastard. A significant fact, yes. Consider, Machi Tabai sees, and he was the only one who could have fled through the air vent. I see no problems with this.
But what about the bullet holes in the wall?
Yes, the bullet holes.
I believe Herr Forehead neatly explained those for us. He didn't miss because he couldn't see. It was the kickback from the .45 caliber revolver. A simple accident, in other words. How's that? I'm afraid your objection has just flown off for brighter skies. This is where the real fun begins, Herr Forehead.
Yeah! We're way over now. I thought we were gonna get our to be continued, but I guess not.
I knew you didn't have what it took.
Shut up, Galvin. We're gonna fix this up in the next video, hopefully, so I'll see you guys in the next part of this trial.